In today's episode, we're going to discuss Christopher Columbus. This is going to be a tough episode. I'm not going to lie. I remember kindergarten, 1992, where we actually discussed the 500th anniversary of the landing of Christopher Columbus in America, but I learned that not everything I was taught was true. Well, if you're confused about something, there's only one thing to do. Find out for yourself. I feel your pain, man. I've been judged too, but I think you've been given a little bit too much credit.
Hey bro, it's so nice to join you on this episode.
Whoa. Don't bro me unless you know me. Man, are you aware of the fact there's a lot of people that don't like you?
History loves me.
Well, it did. Huh? The truth hurts. I wish I could go back in time. Didn't anyone teach you you cannot claim something that does not belong to you? What was Christopher Columbus's contribution to history? Should Columbus Day be celebrated today? What were some of Christopher Columbus's accomplishments? What were some of the reasons for and obstacles to the exploration of the New World? How did Christopher Columbus encounter cooperation and conflict with the natives in the New World? How should we view Christopher Columbus today? Christopher Columbus was born in the Republic of Genoa in Italy in 1451. In 1465, at the young age of 14 years old, Christopher Columbus went out to sea for the very first time and began working on a ship. Columbus opened a map-making shop with his brother in Portugal in 1477. Time is money, money is time. He had his mind on his money and his money on his mind. Christopher Columbus was after some wealth. Columbus's personal mission: to change the world. He married Filipa Perestrello y Moniz in 1479, who was the daughter of a wealthy Portuguese nobleman. After years of politicking in Europe, he failed to gain the endorsement and sponsorship of King John II of Portugal in 1484. He was finally funded by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain for a voyage in 1492. He had several reasons to explore. The first reason is God. He wanted to convert anyone he came into contact with to his God and his religion. He thought that when people subscribed to his religion, he was fulfilling an obligation ordained by his God. Next, Christopher Columbus was in pursuit of riches. In his agreement with the King and Queen of Spain, he would be given a tenth of all of the riches that were found in a new area. He pursued glory. He wanted to be popular for some of his explorations. He wanted to be remembered in history. And he also sought the recognition of royalty. He wanted to be called the Admiral of the Ocean Sea, and he wanted to be named the governor of any of the territories that he would claim for Spain. In 1485, Christopher Columbus's wife had died. Christopher Columbus needed to leave his son, Diego, in the care of church leaders before deploying on his first voyage. Christopher Columbus's prospective exploration in 1492 had the sponsorship of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and they furnished 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. When Christopher Columbus left Palos in Spain, he was greeted with not cheers but boos. Queen Isabella punished the people of Palos by making them manufacture and build the ships that Columbus would use on his first voyage. Christopher Columbus drew inspiration from explorer Marco Polo, who established parts of the Silk Road in his pursuit to increase trade relations with Asian nations. Columbus was a problem solver, and he was an innovator. He wanted to improve upon Marco Polo's trade relations with Asia. So how was he going to do this? Well, he could sail west to reach Asia instead of traveling east. This was unheard of by European people. With a chorus of boos, on August 3, 1492, the Niña, the Pinta, the Santa Maria set sail from Palos, Spain. Columbus had a certain code that he kept upon his ship, the Santa Maria. He tried to keep everyone calm. He would lie about distances, and he would offer rewards for the first person that would sight land. Growing impatient, Christopher Columbus's crew gave him an ultimatum: find land within 3 days, or he was going to be thrown overboard. With the sounds of tierra, tierra, which means land, land in Spanish, Christopher Columbus landed in the New World on October the 12th of 1492. Columbus was a prolific journalist. He kept detailed records of his entire journey. On the first voyage, they first landed on an island that Columbus named San Salvador. There is some debate as to which Caribbean island it was, but Christopher Columbus and his ships visited several other islands including Cuba and Hispaniola. Sometimes I wonder what it must have felt like for the natives to see Columbus land on their shores. I'm sure an obstacle that Columbus faced was the confusion of seeing people he'd never seen before. Another obstacle that Columbus faced was communication. He did not speak the same language that the natives did. Remember Christopher Columbus and King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella's objectives for the expedition out west? Well, they were to find a trade route, which they did not find, but also Columbus had the goals of spreading God, his religion. Well, he did it forcefully, and he needed to find gold, which he didn't really find. And glory, well, he had a lot of explaining to do. Was Columbus who he said he was? Did he do what he said he was going to do? The Santa Maria, the largest ship on the expedition that Christopher Columbus took to the New World, sank on Christmas Day of 1492. Confronted with a massive obstacle, Columbus had to make a decision. What was he to do with all the men that rode on the Santa Maria? Well, he established a fort, Fort Navidad, on Hispaniola, and he told the men that he would return for them on his second voyage. Christopher Columbus, now endowed with much time on his voyage back to Spain, had to be very inventive about what exactly he was going to say to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella upon them asking him how his first voyage went. He probably dreamed of the glory that he was going to receive back in Spain. He was going to be a celebrity. Instead of displaying selflessness and worrying about the people that were around him, Christopher Columbus exhibited selfishness. He was only worried about himself. But he could have used a dash of empathy, and empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes, to see the world as they see it. Christopher Columbus began his second voyage to the New World in 1493. Satisfied with his discoveries on his first voyage, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella provided Columbus with even more resources for his second voyage. Columbus set out for the New World with 17 ships instead of 3 and 1,200 colonists. Columbus reached the Lesser Antilles in October and then explored Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands. During this voyage, Columbus discovered that the fort at La Navidad had been destroyed by natives. Upon Christopher Columbus's arrival back to Spain, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella were not exactly overwhelmed with Columbus's discoveries. However, they decided to finance a second voyage, which had the purpose of establishing a permanent colony. 17 ships and over 1,000 men set sail on October 1493. Columbus struggled to find La Navidad, the fort he established right before returning to Spain. It is believed by modern historians that La Navidad was probably burned down by local natives and the settlers were probably killed. Columbus began his third voyage in 1498 to the New World. He transported a number of convicts to the colony of Hispaniola where he served as governor. The conditions at the colony were deteriorating rapidly, and Spain sent a new governor to the colony. After witnessing the terrible conditions at the colony, they arrested Columbus and sent him back to Spain in chains. Yeah, people were keeping up and checking on Christopher Columbus. Bartolomeo de las Casas, a priest that was in the New World, said that his hand was literally shaking, writing at the atrocities that he was witnessing in the New World. Christopher Columbus probably deserved to be sent back in chains. A royal investigator sent by King Ferdinand from Spain realized some of the things that had been murmured about for many years. Christopher Columbus, he was not the king of communication. He was selfish, and he was ruthless. When Christopher Columbus arrived in Spain in chains, he had a trial awaiting him. Christopher Columbus was not only fighting for his innocence, he was fighting with Father Time. Utilizing his power of persuasion, he was released from prison in 1502 and was also given a fourth and final trip to the New World. Columbus explored several areas in what is now Central America, but he eventually became stranded on the island of Jamaica. Following his rescue, Christopher Columbus returned to Spain. What is the Columbian Exchange? Due to Columbus's arrival in the New World, there was a massive flow of ideas, goods, services, and people from Europe to Africa, to the New World, and then back to Europe. Another reason for Christopher Columbus's expeditions was the big European land grab of the 1400s and 1500s. Europeans were trying to expand their dynasties and their empires through claiming land. Christopher Columbus died in relative obscurity in 1506, 2 years after his return from his fourth and final voyage. While there in Spain, he struggled to regain wealth promised to him by the Spanish royalty, or his titles that were stripped from him, such as Admiral of the Ocean Sea. There is evidence to support the fact that Christopher Columbus forced natives in the New World to convert to his religion. But was he successful? Well, today the most predominant religion in South America and Central America is Catholicism. the religion of Christopher Columbus. The mission of Christopher Columbus in the New World was the addition of gold in his pockets to make him wealthy. Well, did it work in the end? Not exactly. He died a very poor man. Did Christopher Columbus ever receive the glory that he was seeking from his explorations in the New World? Well, yes and no. His return from his first voyage yielded fame and recognition, but he was led back on his third voyage in chains. Well, you be the judge. Actions speak much louder than words. So let's see if we can answer the question. Was Christopher Columbus greedy? Well, on his first voyage, he was gifted 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and 90 crew members. But with some of his exaggerations, on his second voyage, he was gifted 17 ships and 1,200 people to help him. Well, should we celebrate Columbus Day? Well, Columbus Day commemorates the date when Christopher Columbus first set foot in the New World. In the United States, it is observed on the second Monday in October. Though Columbus Day is one of the 10 U.S. legal federal holidays, it's not considered a major one, though you'll see major sales in retail stores. In thinking about Christopher Columbus and how he changed the world, we must remember our history, which is the good and the bad. We should fight to preserve and cherish our history, but never let it repeat where the advancement of the human condition was not the number one priority. Well, here's the Bowtie Guy's final thoughts on this topic. Well, you got to make sure that we understand where we've come from as a people, where we are as a people, and where we're going as a people. Remember, many mistakes have been made over the course of history, but it's your choice and your obligation to not let them repeat themselves ever again. And always remember, you need to stand for something, or you're going to fall for anything. Thanks for watching our show. Be sure to check out our Teachers Pay Teachers store. Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and check out our Pinterest pages. Be sure to check up on the Horton happenings with the Bowtie Guy. Head on over to his YouTube channel for new videos all the time. Oh yeah! Check us out at www.bowtieguyandwife.com. Follow us on our blog.